Greetings, and this is our task one. We're going to inspect our VPC. I'm Richard Golson, and we are taking a look at the Module 10 Guided Lab in the Architect course, and specifically, we're focusing on auto scale. So the first part, whenever you're provided with an environment that's been pre-created, is to inspect it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look, and we should find what we see here, which is a VPC using two availability zones. So leveraging those two availability zones, that means we're going to have a public subnet 1 and a public subnet 2, and a private subnet 1 and a private subnet 2. And because this is a lab, they may or may not deploy a database. So we're going to take a look and see if the database actually did get deployed. And we'll also take a look at the pieces that connect all this together. So let's go take a look at the now. Now I've already have this window open over here. I don't want to look at my security groups yet. So let's go take a look at the resource map for the VPC. And you can see right here, there's our VPC. So let's put on the details. We can see a little bit more what's going on here. And we'll scroll down on the page so we can see this a little better. If we take a look here, here's our public subnet 1, and we can see that it leverages the public route table, which is associated to public subnet 2 as well, right? So both availability zones have subnets in both availability zones have a route out through the lab internet gateway. We can see that over here. This has two internet routes, and one of those routes will be the all zeros route that will point to the internet gateway. Now, keep in mind that it's not the gateway itself that has the routes, it's the public route table that has the routes. Now, we do see that there's a NAT gateway that's been created. That public NAT gateway means that it has been launched in the public subnet, but that's how it's able to provide egress for traffic from public subnet 1 and from private subnet 1 and from private subnet 2. So if we hover over there, you'll see that it's associated to the two private subnets. It has two routes. One is local, which means the other one is pointing to the NAT gateway. It does have an elastic IP, as we can see right here, okay, in the details. And then let's take a look at our security groups. So we can see that we have two security groups that matter. It's the inventory app and the inventory DB. So this is enabling access to the application. This is enabling access to the database. Let's take a look at this first one. And so when I select it, you'll see that currently there are no inbound rules. So we know we're going to have to make some changes to this security group to allow traffic in through the security group so that the application that is hosted on the EC2 instance will receive that traffic. And that'll be on port HTTP port 80, likely, right? We also will see that for the inventory database, it already has an incoming rule. And this is for the port range 3306. It's allowing all traffic in the VPC. That's the VPC range right there. We could probably make that more secure, but we'll see what the lab is requesting of us. Okay, so there you have it on those. And then we can take a look really quickly at the route tables. One of the great things about using this map is it allows us to actually click on the route table to see what the routes look like. I can use this link over here to open up that route table. And we can see here that as we suspected, there is an all zeros route to the internet gateway. Okay. And so for the private route table, we'll take a look at that. And we should see an all zeros route pointing to the NAT gateway. So that all looks good. I think we have seen everything we need to see. There are more details, and you should pile into those, but for our purposes, we're done. So when we come back, we'll take a look at task 2. We'll see you then.